Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to another spine-tingling journey through the world of the unknown. If you're new here, make yourself comfortable, grab a warm drink, dim the lights, and prepare for a night of eerie tales and whispered legends. This channel is dedicated to exploring the most haunted places across the country, delving into the dark and mysterious histories that have left behind lingering presences. Tonight, we turn our attention to one of Miami's most infamous locations, the Miami City Cemetery. Nestled in the heart of downtown Miami, this historic burial ground has stood for over a century, bearing witness to the city's transformation from a small settlement to a bustling metropolis. But beneath its seemingly serene surface lies a world of unsettling stories, ghostly encounters, and unexplained phenomena. Locals whisper of shadowy figures wandering the rows of weathered tombstones, eerie whispers carried by the wind, and the sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. Whether you're a believer in the supernatural or simply fascinated by the macabre, the Miami City Cemetery holds a collection of chilling tales that will leave you questioning what truly lies beyond the veil. Tonight, we will be diving deep into the most notorious hauntings of this eerie resting place. From the tragic tale of a young woman whose spirit is said to still wander the grounds, to the legend of a phantom carriage that roams the cemetery under the cover of darkness, each story is steeped in history and mystery. We'll explore the origins of these hauntings, the eerie encounters reported by visitors and locals alike, and the lingering sense of dread that has made this cemetery a hotspot for paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers. So, if you're ready to step into the shadows of the past and uncover the secrets hidden within the Miami City Cemetery, press play and join us on this haunting expedition. But be warned, once you enter this world of ghostly echoes and forgotten souls, you may never look at cemeteries the same way again. A glimpse into history. The origins of Miami City Cemetery. Established in 1897, the Miami City Cemetery stands as one of the oldest and most historically significant burial grounds in South Florida. Located just west of Biscayne Boulevard, near the heart of downtown Miami, the cemetery occupies a space that once belonged to the city's earliest settlers. Before its formal designation as a burial site, the land was part of a small pioneer community known as the City of Miami. Established in the late 1800s by Julia Tuttle, the mother of Miami. As the city grew, so did the need for a dedicated resting place for its residents, and thus, the Miami City Cemetery was born. In its early years, the cemetery served as the final resting place for many of Miami's founding families, pioneers, and early settlers who braved the untamed wilderness of South Florida. Among the notable individuals buried here is Major William Wagner, a prominent figure in the region's development, and a key player in the construction of Miami's first bridge connecting the mainland to Watson Island. Another significant burial is that of Julia Tuttle's son, Charles O. Tuttle, who played a crucial role in the city's early infrastructure. These historical figures, along with countless others, contribute to the cemetery's deep roots in Miami's past. Throughout its history, the cemetery has witnessed several key events that shaped its eerie reputation. One of the most notable incidents occurred in 1926, when the Great Miami Hurricane devastated the city, leaving behind widespread destruction. Some believe that the storm unearthed graves and disturbed the remains of the deceased, contributing to the unsettling energy that many claim lingers in the cemetery today. In the 1930s, the cemetery underwent a major renovation, during which many older graves were relocated or reorganized to accommodate new burials. Some locals whisper that these disturbances may have awakened something long forgotten, fueling the legends of restless spirits that haunt the grounds. Beyond its historical significance, the Miami City Cemetery also holds cultural importance as a reflection of Miami's diverse heritage. The burial plots include individuals from various backgrounds, including early Bahamian settlers, Cuban immigrants, and African American pioneers who played vital roles in shaping the city's identity. The cemetery's mausoleums and headstones tell stories of love, loss, and resilience, offering a glimpse into the lives of those who lived and died in Miami's formative years. However, it is precisely this rich tapestry of history that has given rise to the cemetery's most chilling tales, stories of ghostly apparitions, unexplained occurrences, and the lingering presence of those who refuse to be forgotten. the tragic tale of Evelyn Hart. Among the many whispered legends surrounding the Miami City Cemetery, few are as hauntingly tragic as the story of Evelyn Hart. Her name is not etched into the annals of Miami's history in the same way as the city's pioneers, but her ghostly presence is said to linger among the crumbling headstones and overgrown paths, forever tied to the place where she was laid to rest. The tale of Evelyn Hart is one of love, betrayal, and an untimely death shrouded in mystery, an event that, according to local lore, left her spirit trapped between worlds, unable to move on. Evelyn Hart was a young woman who lived in Miami at the turn of the 20th century, during a time when the city was still in its infancy. Described in old newspaper clippings and local records as a woman of striking beauty and intelligence, Evelyn was the daughter of a well-respected physician who had settled in the area in the 1890s. She was engaged to a promising young businessman named Thomas Langley, a man whose family had amassed a modest fortune through their involvement in the burgeoning shipping industry. Their wedding was eagerly anticipated by the small but growing Miami community, as both families were prominent in local society. However, tragedy struck in the spring of 1899, when Evelyn was found dead in her family's home under circumstances that remain unexplained to this day. According to accounts from the time, Evelyn's body was discovered in the upstairs hallway of the Hart residence, lying in an unnatural position with signs of a struggle. The official cause of death was listed as a heart attack, but many who knew her dismissed this explanation, citing her youth and excellent health. Some whispered of foul play, pointing to the fact that Evelyn had recently called off her engagement to Thomas under mysterious circumstances. Others speculated that she had been the victim of a jealous rival, or even a vengeful spirit from the past. The details surrounding her death only grew more suspicious in the days that followed. A neighbor reportedly claimed to have seen a shadowy figure fleeing the Hart home in the early hours of the morning Evelyn was found dead. Additionally, Evelyn's personal diary, which was said to contain entries detailing troubling events in the weeks leading up to her death, was never recovered. Some believed that Thomas Langley himself had destroyed the diary to hide incriminating evidence, while others suggested that it had been taken by someone else entirely. Evelyn was laid to rest in the Miami City Cemetery, her grave marked by a simple yet elegant headstone inscribed with the words, Evelyn Hart, beloved daughter and fiancée, 1876 to 1899. Over the years, her grave became the focal point of numerous eerie occurrences and ghostly sightings, cementing her place in the cemetery's haunted history. Visitors and locals alike have reported strange phenomena near her resting place, including unexplained cold spots, the faint scent of roses, and the sound of a woman sobbing in the distance. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a groundskeeper who worked at the cemetery in the 1960s. He claimed to have seen a translucent figure of a young woman standing near Evelyn's grave on multiple occasions, her face obscured by a veil of mist. On one particularly foggy evening, he reported hearing a soft voice whispering his name, though no one else was present. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of sorrow and unease. Another harrowing tale involves a group of teenagers who dared each other to spend the night at the cemetery in the 1980s. According to their account, they were drawn to Evelyn's grave by an inexplicable force. As they approached, they claimed to feel an intense pressure in the air, as though an unseen presence was watching them. One of the teens reported seeing a vision of Evelyn herself, a pale, ethereal figure in a flowing white dress, her eyes filled with tears. The group fled the cemetery in terror, vowing never to return. Today, Evelyn Hart's grave remains a popular destination for those seeking a brush with the supernatural. Some visitors claim to see her ghostly figure lingering near her headstone, while others report feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness when standing near her resting place. The legend of Evelyn Hart continues to captivate those who hear it, serving as a grim reminder of the mysteries that lie buried within the Miami City Cemetery. Whether her spirit is truly trapped among the tombstones or merely a product of local folklore, one thing is certain: Evelyn Hart's story is far from over. The Wailing Child, a tragedy etched in stone of all the chilling tales whispered about the Miami City Cemetery, few are as deeply unsettling as the legend of the Wailing Child. Unlike the other hauntings associated with the cemetery, which often involve spectral figures or eerie sounds, this story centers around a single, heart-wrenching phenomenon: the sound of a child crying in the dead of night. Visitors and locals alike have reported hearing the faint, mournful wails echoing through the rows of gravestones, only to find no source for the sound when they investigate. Some claim the cries grow louder the closer they approach a particular unmarked grave nestled in the northeastern corner of the cemetery, a grave that, according to local lore, belongs to a child whose tragic story has been all but forgotten by time. The origins of this haunting are murky, but fragments of the tale have been pieced together through oral histories and old newspaper clippings. The story begins in the early 1900s, during a time when Miami was still a fledgling settlement grappling with the challenges of survival in a harsh and unpredictable environment. The child, whose name has been lost to history, was said to be no older than 6 when their life was cut tragically short. According to the legend, the child was the son of a poor immigrant family who had recently arrived in Miami seeking a better life. Desperate to make ends meet, the family lived in a cramped, makeshift dwelling on the outskirts of the city, where they struggled to survive amid poverty and disease. The child's death is shrouded in mystery, with conflicting accounts adding to the legend's eerie allure. Some versions of the story suggest the child succumbed to an illness that swept through the settlement, claiming the lives of many before medical care could reach the area. Others allege a more sinister fate, that the child was the victim of neglect or abuse, their cries for help drowned out by the indifference of those around them. What is certain, however, is that the child's death was not given the dignity it deserved. Lacking the means to afford a proper burial, the family reportedly buried the child in an unmarked grave within the Miami City Cemetery, leaving no trace of their existence save for the whispers of the wind that seemed to carry the child's sorrow through the years. It is said that the wailing began shortly after the burial, with neighbors reporting the sound of a child crying in the middle of the night. At first, they assumed it was a prank or a stray animal, but the cries persisted, growing louder and more desperate with each passing night. Over time, the sound became a fixture of the neighborhood, a haunting reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. Locals began to avoid the cemetery altogether, especially after dark, fearing that the cries were not merely the product of imagination but the voice of a tormented soul refusing to rest. Today, the legend of the wailing child endures, with countless accounts of the eerie phenomenon adding to its mystique. Visitors to the cemetery have described feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness when walking through the northeastern section, where the unmarked grave is said to lie. Some claim to hear the faint sound of a child whimpering, only to turn around and find themselves completely alone. Others report feeling an inexplicable chill in the air, as though the very atmosphere is heavy with grief. One particularly harrowing account comes from a local historian who visited the cemetery in the 1970s to research its early burial records. While walking through the northeastern corner, he claimed to hear the unmistakable sound of a child crying, soft and distant but undeniably real. When he followed the sound, he found himself standing near the unmarked grave, where the crying abruptly stopped. As he knelt to examine the grave, he said he felt an icy breeze brush against his neck, accompanied by a faint whisper that sent shivers down his spine. He later admitted that he fled the cemetery without looking back, vowing never to return. Another chilling encounter was reported by a group of paranormal investigators who visited the cemetery in the early 2000s. Equipped with audio recorders and thermal cameras, the team set out to document any unexplained phenomena. As they explored the northeastern section, their equipment captured a series of faint, high-pitched cries that matched the description of the wailing child. When they played back the recordings, they were stunned to hear not just the cries but also faint whispers in the background, as though someone, or something, was trying to communicate. The team claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of dread while in the area, with one member reportedly breaking down in tears and refusing to continue the investigation. The legend of the wailing child has also inspired numerous urban myths and ghost stories, each adding its own twist to the tragic tale. Some versions suggest that the child's spirit is not merely crying but calling out for help, desperate to escape the loneliness of the grave. Others claim that the child's cries are a warning, a harbinger of misfortune for those who dare to disturb the cemetery's sacred ground. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the story of the wailing child has left an indelible mark on the Miami City Cemetery, ensuring that the child's sorrow will never be forgotten, Whether the cries are the work of a restless spirit or simply the product of overactive imaginations, the legend of the wailing child continues to captivate those who hear it. For many, it serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of grief, a haunting testament to the tragedies that lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be remembered. The Phantom Carriage, a ride from the beyond. Of all the eerie tales whispered about the Miami City Cemetery, few are as deeply entrenched in local folklore as the legend of the Phantom Carriage. This ghostly apparition, described as a weathered black horse-drawn hearse with spectral figures inside, has been reported by countless witnesses over the decades. According to legend, the carriage appears only under the cover of darkness, gliding silently through the cemetery's winding paths before vanishing into the shadows. Some claim to hear the rhythmic clatter of hooves against stone, while others speak of an overwhelming sense of dread as the carriage passes by, as if the veil between the living and the dead has momentarily thinned. The origins of the Phantom Carriage legend are shrouded in mystery, with historians and paranormal investigators alike struggling to pinpoint its exact beginnings. However, many believe the tale dates back to the early 1900s, a time when horse-drawn hearses were still commonly used to transport the deceased to their final resting place. It is said that during this era, a particularly gruesome incident occurred within the cemetery, one that may have given birth to the legend that persists to this day. According to one version of the story, the Phantom Carriage belonged to a local funeral home that operated near the cemetery in the early 1900s. The driver, a gaunt and silent man known only as Old Elias, was said to be a grim figure who rarely spoke and kept to himself. Locals whispered that he had an uncanny ability to appear out of nowhere, as if he were more spirit than man. The legend claims that Elias once attempted to transport the body of a recently deceased woman through the cemetery late at night, only for the carriage to be struck by a sudden and violent storm. The horses bolted in terror, and the carriage overturned, sending both the driver and the coffin tumbling into a nearby ravine. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found no sign of Elias or the body, only the wrecked carriage lying abandoned in the dark. The woman's body was never recovered, and Elias was never seen again. Some believe that Elias was not a man at all, but rather a harbinger of death itself, doomed to wander the cemetery for eternity, searching for the lost soul he failed to deliver. Others suggest that the tragedy somehow bound the spirits of both Elias and the deceased woman to the carriage, trapping them in an endless cycle of restless wandering. Since that fateful night, reports of the Phantom Carriage have continued to surface, each one adding to the legend's eerie allure. Witnesses describe the same unsettling details: the sound of hooves echoing through the cemetery long after midnight, the sight of a black hearse emerging from the mist, its lanterns flickering despite the absence of any visible flame. Some claim to have seen figures inside the carriage, their faces obscured by the darkness, while others report feeling an icy chill in the air as the carriage passes by, as though the very temperature drops in the presence of the supernatural. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a local tour guide who led nighttime walks through the cemetery in the 1980s. During one such excursion, she and a group of visitors were making their way through the cemetery's oldest section when they suddenly heard the unmistakable sound of horse hooves approaching from behind. Thinking it was a prankster attempting to scare the tourists, the guide turned around, only to find herself staring at a sight that would haunt her for years to come. The Phantom Carriage stood before them, its wooden frame covered in a thick layer of dust, its wheels creaking as if resisting the passage of time. The two horses pulling the carriage were skeletal, their hollow eyes glowing faintly in the dim moonlight. Inside the hearse sat two figures, one the unmistakable silhouette of a man in a long coat, the other a woman in a tattered white dress, her face hidden beneath a veil. The guide later recalled that the air grew unbearably cold, and every member of the group felt an overwhelming sense of dread. As quickly as it had appeared, the carriage vanished into the night, leaving behind only silence and the lingering sensation of being watched. Another harrowing encounter was reported by a group of teenagers in the early 1990s, who claimed to have seen the Phantom Carriage while sneaking into the cemetery after hours. According to their account, they were walking along one of the main pathways when they heard the distinct sound of hooves approaching from behind. Thinking it was an animal or perhaps a security guard on horseback, they turned around, only to be met with the sight of the spectral hearse emerging from the darkness. The group claimed that the horse's eyes glowed red, and the driver's face was completely obscured by shadow. Before they could react, the carriage passed by them, leaving behind an eerie silence that was broken only by the sound of their own panicked breathing. Despite the countless reports of the phantom carriage, skeptics argue that the legend is nothing more than an elaborate urban myth, fueled by the cemetery's already haunted reputation. Some suggest that the sound of hooves may be attributed to nearby traffic, or even the wind moving through the cemetery's many trees. Others believe that the sightings are the result of mass hysteria, where one person's claim of seeing the carriage inspires others to imagine similar experiences. However, those who have encountered the phantom carriage firsthand insist that nothing in the realm of logic can explain what they witnessed. Whether the phantom carriage is a figment of collective imagination or the restless remnant of a tragedy long past, one thing is certain: the legend continues to thrive, passed down through generations of Miami locals. Those who dare to visit the Miami City Cemetery at night often find themselves listening for the distant sound of hooves, wondering if they, too, will catch a glimpse of the spectral hearse that has become one of the cemetery's most enduring mysteries. The Headless Soldier, a ghost bound by tragedy among the most chilling tales whispered in the Miami City Cemetery. None are as unsettling as the legend of the Headless Soldier. Unlike the spectral figures or phantom carriages that make fleeting appearances, the Headless Soldier is said to be a permanent resident of the cemetery, a restless spirit condemned to wander the grounds for all eternity. Witnesses describe a tall, gaunt figure clad in the tattered remnants of a Civil War-era uniform, his face obscured by the darkness of his hooded cloak. Most disturbing of all, however, is the absence of his head, replaced instead by a gaping void that seems to swallow the light around it. Some claim he carries his severed head beneath his arm, while others insist it is nowhere to be seen, lost to time and torment. The origins of this spectral figure are steeped in mystery, with historians and paranormal investigators offering conflicting theories about his identity and the circumstances of his death. Some believe he was a Confederate soldier who perished during the Civil War, his body eventually finding its way to Miami through unknown means. Others speculate that he was a local man who met a gruesome fate in the early days of the city, his decapitation the result of a brutal crime or tragic accident. What is certain, however, is that the legend of the Headless Soldier has persisted for decades, with countless eerie encounters adding to the tale's unsettling reputation. One of the earliest recorded sightings dates back to the 1920s, when a groundskeeper working late into the night claimed to have seen a shadowy figure standing near the cemetery's oldest section. According to his account, the figure was impossibly tall, his uniform in tatters, his boots making no sound as he moved. The groundskeeper, unnerved by the sight, called out to the man, only to receive no response. As he took a cautious step forward, the figure turned, revealing the horrifying absence of a head. The groundskeeper later claimed that he felt the temperature drop instantly, a wave of nausea overtaking him as the figure began to slowly turn toward him. Before he could react, the figure vanished, leaving behind only the lingering sensation of being watched. Since that night, numerous other accounts have surfaced, each adding to the eerie legend of the Headless Soldier. Some claim that he appears only under the light of a full moon, his hollow silhouette standing motionless among the tombstones. Others insist that he is most active during the early hours of the morning, when the cemetery is at its quietest. Many who have encountered him describe the same overwhelming sense of dread, as though the very air thickens in his presence. Some say they can hear the faint sound of marching footsteps before he appears, a phantom regiment following him through the Vale of the Dead. The cursed statue, a marble angel with a sinister secret among the many eerie landmarks scattered throughout the Miami City Cemetery. None are as unsettling as the statue known as the Cursed Angel. This towering marble figure, carved in the likeness of a weeping angel, stands over a forgotten grave near the cemetery's central path. Its delicate features, once pristine, have been worn down by time and the elements, giving it an almost lifelike quality that is both haunting and mesmerizing. But it is not the statue's craftsmanship that has earned it its ominous reputation, it is the chilling legend that surrounds it, a tale of betrayal, death, and a curse that lingers to this day. The origins of the cursed angel are shrouded in mystery, but local historians have pieced together fragments of its history from old newspaper clippings and cemetery records. According to legend, the statue was commissioned in 1912 by a wealthy Miami businessman named Samuel Whitmore, who had recently lost his wife under suspicious circumstances. Whitmore, a prominent figure in the city's early development, was known for his eccentric behavior and obsessive tendencies, particularly when it came to his marriage. His wife, Eleanor Whitmore, was said to be a woman of great beauty and charm, but their relationship was plagued by rumors of infidelity and jealousy. The official records state that Eleanor died of an illness, but whispers of foul play persisted in the years following her death. Some claimed that Samuel had grown increasingly paranoid, convinced that his wife was involved in an affair with a rival businessman. Others suggested that Eleanor had planned to leave him, only for fate, or something far darker, to intervene. Whatever the truth, Samuel spared no expense in commemorating her death, commissioning a life-sized marble angel to watch over her grave. The statue was sculpted by a reclusive artist known only as Mr. Holloway, a man whose work was said to be eerily lifelike, as though he had captured something beyond mere stone. But the legend took a sinister turn not long after the statue was installed. According to those who lived near the cemetery at the time, strange occurrences began to plague the area. Visitors reported hearing faint whispers near Eleanor's grave, as though the statue itself was speaking in hushed tones. Some claimed to see the angel's head move, its sorrowful gaze shifting as if watching those who passed by. Others spoke of an overwhelming sense of dread that settled over them whenever they stood too close to the statue, as though they were being judged by unseen eyes. Then came the deaths. Within months of the statue's completion, several individuals who had been involved in its creation met untimely ends. Mr. Holloway, the sculptor, was found dead in his workshop, his body twisted in an unnatural position, his hands clawing at his throat as if he had been suffocated by something unseen. A stonemason who had assisted in the statue's installation was discovered drowned in his bathtub, despite having no history of illness or water-related accidents. Even Samuel Whitmore himself was not spared. Just a year after the statue's unveiling, he was found collapsed in his study, his face frozen in a mask of terror, his eyes wide with horror as if he had seen something that defied explanation. The shadow figure, a presence that shouldn't be of all the eerie entities said to haunt the Miami City Cemetery, none are as elusive or unnerving as the shadow figure. Unlike the more defined apparitions, such as the headless soldier or the phantom carriage, this entity manifests not as a recognizable ghost, but as a shifting, amorphous silhouette that seems to defy explanation. Witnesses describe a tall, slender figure, cloaked in darkness, its form blending seamlessly with the night. It has no discernible features, no eyes, no face, no voice, yet its presence is felt with an almost suffocating intensity. Some claim to see it standing motionless among the tombstones, watching, waiting. Others report that it moves, gliding soundlessly across the cemetery grounds, vanishing the moment it is noticed. The legend of the shadow figure has persisted for decades, with accounts dating back to the early 1900s. Some believe it is merely a trick of the light, a distortion caused by the interplay of shadows and mist that often lingers in the cemetery's oldest sections. Others, however, insist that it is something far more sinister, a presence that does not belong in the world of the living, yet refuses to cross into the afterlife. The Phantom Choir, a hymn from the grave among the many eerie phenomena reported at the Miami City Cemetery. Few are as unsettling as the legend of the Phantom Choir. Unlike the spectral figures and shadowy apparitions that haunt the grounds, this haunting takes the form of an ethereal sound, a mournful, otherworldly choir that can be heard drifting through the cemetery late at night. Witnesses describe hearing the faint strains of a slow, sorrowful hymn, sung in voices that seem both distant and impossibly close. Some claim the music is accompanied by the sound of a pipe organ, its notes resonating through the still air like a ghostly requiem. Others insist that the voices alone are enough to send a chill down the spine, their harmonies laced with an indescribable sense of sorrow and longing. The legend of the Phantom Choir has persisted for decades, with accounts dating back to the early 20th century. Locals speak of an unshakable sense of unease that accompanies the sound, as though the very air grows heavier in its presence. Some say that the choir can only be heard on certain nights, particularly on the anniversaries of tragic events or during periods of heightened paranormal activity. Others claim that the music is a warning, a sign that something unnatural is about to occur. Whatever the truth may be, those who have heard the phantom choir describe the experience as profoundly unsettling, as though they are being drawn into the sorrow of those who have passed. One of the earliest documented encounters with the phantom choir dates back to the 1920s, when a group of teenagers dared each other to spend the night in the cemetery. According to their account, they had been sitting near the oldest section of the grounds when they first noticed the music. At first, they assumed it was coming from a nearby church, but as they listened, they realized that the sound was not coming from any direction. They were surrounded by it. A final reflection on the echoes of the past as we bring this journey through the haunted history of the Miami City Cemetery to a close. One thing remains abundantly clear. This place is far more than a collection of weathered tombstones and forgotten names. It is a repository of stories, some tragic, some mysterious, all deeply unsettling. From the ghostly figure of Evelyn Hart, eternally bound to the place where she was laid to rest, to the unrelenting sorrow of the wailing child, whose cries still pierce the night, the cemetery stands as a testament to the lives and deaths that have shaped Miami's past. The phantom carriage, the headless soldier, the cursed angel, the shadow figure, and the spectral choir, all are threads in the intricate tapestry of hauntings that refuse to fade, no matter how much time passes. What makes these legends so compelling is not just their eerie nature but the way they intertwine with the very fabric of history. These are not simply tales of the supernatural. They are echoes of real lives, real tragedies, and real moments of human emotion that have left an indelible mark on this place. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, there is something undeniably haunting about standing in a place where centuries of history have unfolded, where the weight of the past feels almost tangible. The Miami City Cemetery is not just a resting place for the dead, it is a living archive of Miami's earliest days, a place where the line between history and legend blurs, and where the past seems determined to make itself known. For those who dare to visit, the cemetery offers more than just a glimpse into the unknown, it offers an experience unlike any other. The rustling of leaves in the wind, the flickering of shadows at dusk, the inexplicable chill that sometimes settles over the grounds, these are the moments that remind us of the mysteries that still linger in the world. And while we may never know the full truth behind these hauntings, perhaps that is what makes them so enduring. The unknown has always held a certain allure, a power to stir our imaginations and challenge our perceptions of reality. So, dear friends, as we part ways for now, I leave you with this thought. The next time you find yourself wandering through an old cemetery, take a moment to listen, not just with your ears, but with your instincts. Who knows what stories may be waiting to be uncovered, what whispers of the past may still be carried on the wind. Whether you are a believer, a skeptic, or simply someone who enjoys a good ghost story, the Miami City Cemetery serves as a reminder that history is never truly silent. It speaks in hushed tones, in flickering lights, in the lingering sense that you are not alone. If you enjoyed this journey through one of Miami's most haunted landmarks, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you ever encountered something unexplainable in a cemetery or another historic site? What other places would you like to see explored in future episodes? Your curiosity fuels this channel, and I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, sometimes the past isn't as far behind us as we think. Thank you for watching, and may your own journeys through history be filled with wonder, mystery, and just the right amount of eerie anticipation. Good night, and sweet dreams, if you dare.